Alrighty, it is time for the RR Show. It is Vince, it is I. We are ready to go with a grab bag episode. So our first episode is going to be Boomers Being Fools, which is always fun. I miss that subreddit. Then Tales from Your Server. That'll be our second story. Then we got two from I Don't Work Here Lady. It's going to be fun, going to be great. By the way, share this show with a friend. And with that, let's jump in to the RR Show right now. Our first story comes from Boomers Being Fools. User, never again homeschool. And the story title is, Sir, I'm wearing zombie makeup. Why would you think I work at CVS? Years ago, I worked as an actor in an immersive room escape. It was called Trapped in a Room with a Zombie. The basic premise was a crawling actor, a zombie, with chains on their wrist were to chase the guests and attempt to tag them at a certain point of the show. The chains got longer every 5 minutes. There was another actor, a mad scientist, ensuring the zombie actor's safety. Relevant point, Zombie was originally a lab assistant before turning. As a makeup artist, in addition to acting, I would go all in on the makeup. I'm talking blacked out teeth, blood everywhere, with an emaciated look underneath. I was also wearing blue scrubs that were covered in blood. None of the blood was wet or would transfer, but there was a lot of it. Well, after a show, on the way home, I had to stop at a CVS for some medication. Without being graphic, the meds were a little embarrassing. Think of a constipated zombie. Yeah, that was me. Due to my schedule, I had no other choice than to quickly run in, grab the over-the-counter meds, use the self-checkout, and get out. Plus, I was dying for some relief. While choosing my meds on the lowest shelf of shame, I hear an from behind me. I assume they also need something on the same shelf that I'm in front of, so I scoot to the side a bit to allow them to grab their item. I keep most of my face turned because I'm not trying to startle anyone. But they didn't grab an item, and I was met with a more persistent I look up to see a boomer couple waiting on me expectantly. I was expecting them to be somewhat taken aback by my appearance, but their faces didn't change at all. I shoot them a quizzical look, assuming they have a question for the random neighborhood undead. The husband gives me an impatient smile and says, "Oh, we figured you work here because of the scrubs." Folks, I may have been in scrubs, but the scrubs are covered in fake blood. Also, my face looks like I have been mainlining cerebellums. I do not look like an employee. But Boomer Man continues to wait for assistance. As if I was going to say, surprise, this is for Halloween. We decided to celebrate it in July this year. How can I help you? I laugh a little, good-naturedly. I mean, it's not every day you run into a zombie in scrubs. I expect that to be the end of our exchange, but the boomer raised his brows in anticipation. It clicked for me. He wasn't convinced I didn't work there and was still expecting me to help. All my flabbers gasted. I chuckle nervously and say, I don't work here, while gesturing to my entire body and face. The couple did not return my laugh. They kept waiting expectantly. At this point, I'm in a rush, and I don't have the energy to explain why I'm gore-covered and that I wasn't an employee and I wouldn't be able to help them. So I wave a little and slink my way to the checkout, trying not to startle anyone. These two boomers watched me until I was out of sight, with that expectant look of waiting to be assisted. Boomers gonna boom, I guess. Our second story comes from r/Tales from Your Server, from Dapper Captain 5261. The story's titled, These Men Must Be in Heat or Something. Not for real though, but yesterday I had these grown men give me an attitude and I had to put them back in their place. The first guy, I'll call him Coffee Guy, comes in and orders. I give him his food and coffee and went on with my business. I was wiping down the high bar when he snapped his fingers at me instead of saying, "Excuse me, miss," like a normal person with a decent bit of house training. I looked up and told him that, for one, I'm not a dog, and did what he want. He told me that his coffee is cold, so naturally I apologized and got him another cup from another pot. Once I gave him the coffee, he was like, "Feel how cold this one is. How did you not know that this coffee is cold?" Obviously, this guy doesn't know anything about ceramic and how well they contain heat, so we don't burn our hands off when we hold it. But I just ignored him and walked off when he muttered something under his breath. "That's a lie. You already know exactly how I am. If you got something to say, you come say it to my face, not behind my back." So I almost snapped my neck, turning to see why this guy looked at me as if I killed his dog. Before he got a word in, I was like, "What's your problem? I give you another cup of coffee. This time it's hot. I was nothing but respectful to you, and you still give me a dirty look. What's your problem?" He mumbled nothing, and I walked away. Like, "Sir, it's 6-something in the morning. You come into my job with an attitude. Don't use cold coffee as an excuse to take it out on me." He tipped me, but he's still a jerk in my book. Then this other guy comes in. Let's call him To-Go Guy, and he placed a to-go order. I priced his ticket and told him his total. And he's got an attitude. "Can I get my food first?" So I matched his energy and told him that it's Falafel House policy that he pays for his order first before we make it. He threw the money on the high bar, and I threw the change exactly the same way he gave it to me. And you can guess he didn't like that. And during lunch rush, we had another customer. We'll call him Entitled Regular come in. He wanted to order, but we were a little too busy. I was working on 2 separate to-go orders, and online order, and tending to 2 tables. Since I had the high bar, he was trying to get my attention. I told him that I'll be with him in just a minute. He didn't have a minute to spare and was like, "I just want a large coffee. Is that too much to ask?" The whole diner just got quiet. Once I confirmed that he's done with his little tantrum, I told him that either another server can get him his coffee or he can go to the gas station next door, but he's not getting anything from me. Another server ended up getting him his coffee. One of my tables told me that I should have showed him the door instead of giving him options. And people say women are too emotional. Our third story comes from r/I don't work here lady and is written by user DapperCaptain5261. Story title: "No, I can't tell you where the car rentals are. No, I don't know how you can request assistance." So I work at a fast food place within the airport. I don't work for the airport at all. I don't know anything about the amenities and accommodations or anything else besides chicken sandwiches. But somehow between my uniform and my face, I always get approached by passengers asking me things about the airport, and I really don't get paid enough to know in the first place. The first incident is when I just clocked in. I was on my way to TSA when a passenger stopped me to inquire about car rentals. I told her, quite annoyed actually, because I need to go through TSA before the lines get longer, that I don't have a clue, but if she goes to guest services, they can help her. That wasn't good enough. She held me against my will until I gave her a random direction. That's when I realized I gotta be rude to these people. Anyway, earlier one morning, I was getting coffee from a kiosk when a bunch of passengers were deplaning. An elderly lady stopped me and demanded to know why I didn't bring a wheelchair with me when I knew she needed assistance for getting around. I look nowhere near an airport worker, much less a passenger assistant. I pointed at the actual assistant wheeling the chair from the gate the lady just walked out from. Like, how did she walk out, cleaned past an actual airport worker with a wheelchair and looked at a girl wearing a fast food uniform getting a coffee and go, yeah, that's my personal assistant? Another time is when I was going back in from break. The entrance door to the back of house happened to be next to the elevator that leads up to the VIP lounge upstairs. As I was punching in the passcode, a passenger stopped me to ask about the menu for the lounge. I told him that I didn't know, which annoyed him, and he pulled the "don't you work here" card. And no, so I got smart with him. I told him that unless he wants chicken sandwiches, I can't help him, but to also try our food since I heard it's way better and affordable than whatever they served upstairs. I went inside before he could say anything. I could go on, but it would be a long post. Our final story is a nice wholesome one from r/I don't work here lady. User, hiding thing with eyes. Story title, I don't work here, but I do know where the Hershey Kisses are. This is a nice story that happened years ago. I still remember it well, though. I worked in a couple of retail stores for a total of 12 years. When you work retail for long enough, you might end up with a sort of customer service vibe, like an aura that people pick up on even when you're not actually at work. Maybe it was the brisk, purposeful walk I always had, or maybe I just seemed focused and competent no matter what store I was shopping in. But because of this, I was frequently mistaken for an employee when I was out shopping. My favorite story out of all the incidences was when I was working at a retail electronics store that happened to be right next to a CVS. I went to that CVS almost every single day to grab a snack on my lunch break. I went there so often that I knew the layout of the store, and the CVS employees knew me on site and would smile at me when I came in. One day, I was on my break and looking at drinks in the refrigerator section. A lady approached me from behind and politely asked, "Excuse me, where's the candy? I'm looking for Hershey Kisses." I turned around to look at her, and she immediately realized her mistake, as I wasn't wearing a CVS uniform or name tag. "Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you worked here," she said. She was so embarrassed. She started to retreat, but I just laughed and said, "I don't work here, but I can show you where the candy is anyway." So I led her to the candy aisle and pointed out the Hershey Kisses on the bottom shelf. She thanked me profusely and apologized again for the mix-up. We both had a good laugh about it. It was one of the most wholesome interactions with a stranger I've ever had, and it made my whole day. It still makes me smile, lifts my spirits when I think about it many years later. Sometimes it feels really good to use that customer service vibe to help someone just because you can and you want to, and not because it's your job, especially when it really isn't your job. So thanks for being with us. The RR Show is a production of Evergreen Podcasts and Wessler Media. Now, if you'd be so kind, please follow or subscribe to our show wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're feeling extra nice, you might as well leave a 5-star review. But for more, visit the website, rrshow.com. That is rrshow.com. I'm your host, Vince. Thank you to my producer, Kevin, and we'll see you next time here on The RR Show.